Hey everyone, Susan here, and I am so excited for you to have the wisdom of my friend Andrew Bart in this coming episode. Andrew is absolutely amazing. He has over 20 years of experience in C-suite leadership in startups, and he started as part of the team at iCrossing. They had a massive exit, and while he was doing that part-time, he started another business which grew exponentially, which also exited. And now he is the CEO and co-founder of a company called Algo Face, which is in the computer vision retail space. We're going to talk about that. The heartbeat of this episode today is around something Andrew does that is different than any other founder I have ever met. And as of this episode, I've interviewed over 360 founders. I've invested in startups. I've led startups. And Andrew is very, very unique. So you are going to hear about something he does that you can do regardless of the stage you're in, even if you're just thinking about doing your own startup. And you can start it like this week, right now. It's going to be absolutely amazing. So make sure that you take some notes and check out this episode. And by the way, if you haven't given the show a 5-star review, I'd absolutely love that. I have been traveling. It is raw and real entrepreneurship. So stay tuned for the end. I'll give you this week's diary update and you'll hear what's going on. And as I'm doing this episode today, it was when I squeezed in so we wouldn't miss a weekly episode. And I reached out to Andrew, who's a dear, dear friend, and he agreed to do the show. So grateful for that. And I would just say to all of you, just know that when something is important, we make time for it. And it isn't about really thinking in terms of our time is controlling us. It's about how we control our time. And the show is important to me. You are important to me. And we have some big announcements coming with the show. We're going and growing to the next level. And so stay tuned for the short diary at the end, because I'm excited to share with you also what's been going on in terms of my growth and the startup that I founded. So check it out. And here we go with my episode with the incredible Andrew Bart, CEO and co-founder of Algo Face.
This is Raw and Real Entrepreneurship, the show that brings the no-nonsense truth of what is required to start, grow, and scale your business. I am your host, Susan Sly. Well, hey everyone, wherever you are in the world, I hope you're having an amazing day. And as you heard, my friend Andrew Bart is here. And Andrew is not just an amazing entrepreneur. He's so seasoned. He's adept at being able to put together people and business in ways that, of all of the 360 plus interviews I've done, it's very rare and remarkable. And Andrew and I met where everyone meets, on LinkedIn, of course, but we have some mutual friends in common. And since then, we become good friends. I even think Andrew's like my brother from another mother, even though he looks more like my husband, Chris, than me. I don't know who the mother is or the father, but we don't look anything alike. But Andrew, as you heard, has had some pretty amazing career milestones. And we're going to talk about a few of some of the more challenging aspects of his career today. And so, Andrew, I want to thank you so much for being here on the show.
Susan, thank you for all the kind words. I appreciate you very much.
Well, Andrew, I want to go back. So here you go to ASU and
Harvard of the West.
The Harvard of the West. It's also known as the biggest party school. I know such things because I have kids who've gone there. And
yes, but Michael Crow has had an incredible impact and completely changed the image and the skyline, I might add. It's amazing. When I was there, the Brickyard was, filled with bars. Now it's filled with computer vision engineers.
Well, that's a great point. And Michael Crow has done an incredible job in terms of entrepreneurship and being one of the top schools in the United States for innovation. When you were there, though, you were not studying entrepreneurship. I
was studying, it was just different things.
And so let me jump in right there. There's this whole debate, entrepreneurs are born or are they made? When did you realize that you were an entrepreneur?
So, you know, my parents are both, you know, they ingrained it into me. So it was from a very young age that my parents, you know, injected, you know, like my father will work until the day he dies. You know, I am certainly going to follow in suit with that. I don't know what I would do if I wasn't working. And you know, my father, you know, as he said, he's worked his whole career. He has his own law firm with a partner, and for 50, you know, some years, and as he said, he's been offered, you know, different corporate law jobs and things like that. But he said, I could never have anybody come to me, and the minute they would tell me to do something, I would tell them, you know, that no, that's not the way I do it. And it's like, you know, uh, there's a certain mentality, a certain stubbornness, right? That goes along with being an entrepreneur and having that mindset. And I can tell you that my parents really nurtured that stubbornness in a healthy way. And I think to date, it's served me well. And it's also served me well to have an amazing wife who also teaches me very clearly what the lanes are as to when to shut that stubbornness down and listen.
Well, yeah, we'll talk about Yvette in a moment and the incredible T-shirt that you wore the other night. But that we've had, Andrew, so many entrepreneurs talk about their entrepreneur origin story, which is often sometimes when they're a child. We had someone sell watermelon, and one of my favorite interviews I did recently was with my friend Gregory, who is neurodivergent. He has sold 12 startups, and he sold rattlesnakes. So what was your first business? Did you have a childhood business? And if so, what was it?
I don't know that I necessarily had a childhood business, but you know, it was. I can tell you that as a child, I was always very, very into um, computers. I mean, like I was Commodore 64. You know, I still have in my garage, much to Yvette's chagrin, many of my old computers, including I have a 486DX running OS2. You know, I can get really geeky on that stuff, and I have original manuals and everything.
Wow.
She's dying to throw them out. I'm sure, you know, I will not, I will not do that. I've kind of held on, been lucky enough to hold on to that. But I think being into computers, and then also being, you know, I'm a civic minded sports fan and an analytics geek. And I was very aggressively into baseball cards and trading baseball cards and putting deal making together to get the kind of cards from someone else's collection that I wanted to have in my collection. And I would say that, you know, I don't know if that was a business, but it was certainly an exchange of marketplace of sorts. So maybe it originated there, but I would tell you, you know, in true entrepreneurship, you know, coming out of ASU, I was recruited by Jeff Herzog, and it was at the time it was International Crossing. It became iCrossing, which, you know, largest search engine marketing firm in the early days of the heydays, pre Google, was like web crawler days. And after that experience, or during that experience, I should say, I developed, you know, it was called the Carefree Pet. And it was the crazy story because you know, I had a cat, and my cat passed away. And I said, "Oh my God, this cat is, you know, Queenie is, you know, she's got papers. She's, you know, nothing in her lineage of that she should have passed early." And it turned out, you know, I said, "Okay, something's wrong. Something doesn't make sense." And I said, "What was she exposed to?" And I looked, you know, had the pet food tested, the cat food that she was eating. I'm not going to name the brand, but the bottom line is I had the food tested, and they found formaldehyde and some nasty chemicals in it. And I said, okay, well, this is a life moment. Well, how do I honor her? You know, I can either become, you know, go out and try and sue a pet company, which that's not going to go very far, or I can do something to honor her. So I built a website. I put up Queenie's picture on the homepage, and I, put 120 some SKUs up, optimized the website, and then I went into work at iCrossing the next day. And literally in year one, I mean, we were doing very healthy 6-figure retail revenue numbers, and I never picked up a phone. I never did anything. And I was just literally faxing orders in at the time. On dial-up, we were on dial-up. We were still on AOL. And so, bottom line is over a couple years, I ended up building out, multi-level marketing, and I ended up building out, my own private label brand of pet products. I built, product pairing solutions. I was selling all up and down the supply chain. And it became, I bootstrapped this whole business off of $4,000 and ended up selling it, 7 years later for 100% realization to the global, corporate strategic partner. And that was, I mean, it came from just my pet passing away. I have no, there was no, thought behind it initially.
It's interesting you say that, because it speaks volumes about your character. You said, I could have sued them, or I could take this event, this sadness, and I can do something positive with it. And that just, people need to know that's just who you are. Like, every time I'm either on a Zoom with Andrew or I see Andrew in person, he is always smiling. It doesn't mean that everything in his life he's always smiling. He's just making a choice, a concerted choice. So, Andrew, how is it that you stay positive? Like, where do you get it from? Like, because I know you have wall kicking moments. Like, how do you keep smiling even when things are tough?
So, well, first of all, we've already covered Yvette. I mean, my wife and my family they keep me grounded. I can never get too high because she's, very good at bringing me down to earth, and keeping me in line. And I can say that also, my parents raised me in a way that the analogy of, love the janitor as much as the CEO.
Mhm.
And my mother in particular, not taking anything away from my father by any stretch, but they are amazing parents, and very honorable, very integrity driven. And but my mother, was in the workforce at a time when there were not a lot of women. There were very few, as a matter of fact, women executives. And I literally would be in work with her a lot and see what she went through. And she would always tell me that, and she was also in very scenarios in businesses that were very old boys network driven. And I saw the barriers that she bashed through, literally. And she would tell me, that you have to appreciate absolutely every little thing. And very often that statement about the janitor and the CEO, it's funny because she would always tell me that, it's the executive assistant of the person who's the head, right? That person has 7 bazillion things going on, but the executive assistant is the one who makes all that happen. And they are the conduit. And so you better damn well be as nice and keep that, relationship strong, and keep a positive, appreciative, pursuit to everything. And I think, I was raised to be humble. I was raised to take the inputs, and certainly Yvette has kept going.
That is absolutely incredible. And you host well, I don't know, you facilitate is, I guess, the thing I'm looking for. So one of the things we were talking about, and Andrew and I started talking, and we were talking, and I was like, we have to do a show because we were like catching up, talking, like we speak every week, but a lot happens in our weeks as entrepreneurs. And we were talking about the weekly meetup that Andrew facilitates. And the first time he invited me, we bonded, also being boy parents and just like having kids that are we're raising them differently. They're around adults, and I'm a big proponent. I was just talking to my husband Chris about that today. Like, I just brought Emery, our youngest, to HIMSS. I brought her to Intel when I was in Silicon Valley, and I want her to learn. And so you and Yvette on Wednesdays, you facilitate this meetup where entrepreneurs come and venture folks come, and we just all like chat, we have some wine, and your son is there. And I want to talk about, where did you first get the idea to do that, and how did you get it all organized? Because it really is genius. And Whitney Wolfe Herd did it as she was preparing to launch Bumble, getting folks together, getting their feedback. So what inspired you to do it, and when did you do your first one?
So, again, family is everything to me, and you've heard me talk about my mother. My mother, she had a lot of positions as a fundraiser, over a 40-year career, that she took me everywhere, as a child. I mean, everywhere. And she would guide me and teach me, in these environments. So we would be in a room with ultra high net worth, for philanthropic fundraising events, and she would stand at the door, and I would stand next to, and she would say, "You're going to stand next to me, and you're going to shake every person's hand that comes in, and we'll be here at the door, and you will shake everyone's hand on the way out." And she said, as people flow into the room, she would say, "Okay, Andy, I want you to tell me," because she calls me Andy, not Andrew, but she said, "Andy, I want you to I want you to look around the room, and I want you to tell me who the most important person you think who do you think is the most important person in the room, and then I'm going to tell you. If you get it right, I'm gonna tell you who they are, and I'll walk you up, and I'll teach you how to introduce yourself to them. If you get it wrong, I'm gonna start to give you hints and pointers how to identify that person." And so she like gave me hints. She would say, look at the person with their back to the bar, who's not focused on the bar, but everybody is walking up and talking to them, and they're the focus. Anybody who can pull attention from the bar in a conference, that is an indicator. Top right, farthest from the door as you walk in the room, farthest to the right, the farthest away. That person, it wants to be off, away from everybody, and have people go across the room to them, and the right people go to them. And then, you got the person in the middle of the room, who is obviously the one that wants to talk to absolutely everyone. So she would like nurture me through these scenarios, and I mean, endlessly. She took me everywhere in the world to her different, fundraising events and other excursions. So that was something I was exposed to, and my children, I take, I don't want to be anywhere without my family. I mean, and Yvette is hilarious, because we go to technology conferences, and her superpower is on display in these conference environments. I will stand in a spot, and I'll be in a conversation, and she will go, "I'll be back," and she'll disappear, and then she will come back with somebody, with tugging their arm, and go, "You need to meet my husband. Andrew, this person does X. And, Andrew, you tell him what you do." And then she will evaporate and come back. And by the time she's done, there's like a pool of, 5 to 7 of us that people I never knew, and we're engaging. So, you asked the question about Bricks, and Bricks Wines and Carefree on Tom Darlington and Cave Creek Road. I mean, bottom line is I've been a frequenter of Bricks, and the proprietor Brian, and as what Nancy, for a long time, for 14 years, 15 years. And even dating back to their location down the street, I used to bike down there, bicycle. And bottom line is I can't answer the question of when it actually started, but I just started inviting people because I want to, do good things with good people and be around good people in life. And then I started, I said, okay, as different people started to come consistently, I said, well, what are you doing these days? What's important to you? And when I asked them, one or more of the individuals, what's important to them, I said, I'll tell you what, I know, so and so does this and so does this. I'm going to have them come up next week, and then I'll just introduce you to and or three, and you guys go off on your own. I'll keep the glasses full, and you'll figure out your ways to connect, and it just evolved organically. And like I just described, what it has become is like I have now, and you were obviously a part of one of these in particular, where I had some friends coming in, one from Toronto and one from Bentonville, Arkansas, and they're trying to lay roots here in the technology ecosystem. And so, I mean, I'll bring 10, 15 people or so, who are movers and shakers in areas that help to get them connected to achieve and accomplish the goals that they want. But as you explained, there's no real agenda. It's come drink wine, have a lobster food truck, there may be some live music, and just get to know each other. And that's pretty much it. And it's grown into something on its own organically.
Well, Andrew, it's so beautiful because it's unstructured and you just have this gift. It's, you have more than one superpower of just making people feel good. And you are very kind and you're also very smart. And to your point,
Thank you.
growing up, when I just did my talk last night in Silicon Valley, for the Silicon Valley Education Foundation, I had 2 slides of my dad. And my dad always said the same things as your mom. It's like, just be kind to everyone. Be kind to, growing up in a restaurant, be kind to the person bussing the table, be kind to the person. And I do, even like checking into the flight this morning, just stopping, commenting on the gal's like shirt, her nails, like, and just having a conversation. I love what you said. What is important to you? I didn't even tell you this. This is raw and real entrepreneurship. I won't say the name, but one of my friends who came with Mia and I got a date that night at Bricks. So who knows? Hey, Andrew.
I'm going to tell you a very good friend of mine who I believe you may have met up there, who's a consistent regular. He's a very close friend of mine, and we were at Bricks one night at one of these, get-togethers, and he ended up, meeting a lady up there who they've been together for some time now, and they have an amazing relationship. And I just they both are like on it's not like it happened yesterday. But they are on cloud 9 years later, and it's fun to watch, and it just continues to expand the core group of people. That's the other thing that has organically started to happen is there's a group of people that come every week now, and that core starts to continue to build, just without any force application to it.
Yeah, I love that. And before we shift gears to Algo Face too, because I just want everyone listening to the show and, wherever you are in the world, since it is a global audience, this is something you can do. Just get a group of people together. If people don't want to go to yet some other structured thing, even for the pause, we're hosting a cocktails and conversations. And I got the idea from, Whitney Wolf Herd, as I said, when she was getting ready to launch Bumble, she spent a year going to college towns, getting girls together. If you had a dating app, what would you want in it? And we're doing the same thing with women's health and just bringing, not just women together, because why would we, right? Like bringing men, bringing women together, having conversations. And I'm going to give a shout out to Jen Pelka and Infem Wines. I had Jen on the show. I am, disclosure, investor in her company, and Jen is sponsoring our cocktails and conversations. So it's like even better because we have Infem Wines and great folks coming to it. And when Andrew, over the summer, I know you're decamping to another location and you're going to pick it up there too, and just invite some folks weekly and get them together. And I think that's one of your zones of genius, is just it. You don't have to wait to attend a networking event. You just make your own networking event.
Oh my God. It's so funny that you mentioned that, because I am, Algo Face, my company that you mentioned, we got into the Fuel AI ML Accelerator sponsored by the Walton Family Foundation. And I went down to Bentonville for 4 months, and I'm not going to say I recreated the exact same thing, because the venues are a little bit different, but the exact same concept. And in Bentonville, there's a wine bar called Ramo, and it's in like 100-year-old home. It's a really neat property, with massive trees out back with cicadas chirping in it. I mean, it's really charming. And what I did when I was in Bentonville is literally I said to people, how can I help you? They're like, wait a minute, you're coming into the Fuel Accelerator. We're supposed to be mentoring or helping, get you connected to the community. I said, no. How can I help you or Bentonville? What can I do to contribute to the community? I'll tell you what, why don't you meet me at Ramo on Thursday nights? And we'll sit down and talk about it. And they were, number one, they're like, the same thing happened organically. More people continue to show up, and everybody goes, oh, are you going to Andrew's Ramo wine night? And it's sort of, it's a thing. It became a thing. And then they also, the Bentonvillians, I guess they
I don't
all
know.
say that, the reputation is, Andrew came in and asked, didn't ask for anything. He came in and asked, how can I help? And that it comes from authenticity and a desire to get the communities connected. And now I'm working on getting Bentonville and Scottsdale, Phoenix Metro connected. So
That's probably your next company after that. It'll have to do with wine and connecting. It's like already investable, right? Like set that valuation. And Andrew, as we're coming, let's shift gears for a moment, because there's so much substance in already what we've spoken about. Get people together, have no agenda, show up to serve, and which you and I are. When you and I had that first lunch, and I called my husband after we had lunch, and I called him and I said, Andrew just shows up to serve. And Chris said, but that's what you do. That's like all the time. You're always figuring out, how do I give more in value without an expectation, right? And so now you've already had this amazing career as an entrepreneur. And now let's talk about Algo Face, because Algo Face, first and foremost, I am learning from you. In my past entrepreneurial career, we did not do grants. We did, it was straight up normal, quote unquote, fundraising. And you're always texting me like, do you know about this grant? Do you know about this grant? Do you know about this grant? And I love that you're looking at the company so holistically and from a variety of places. But for people who don't know what Algo Face is, could you share, like, what is the company? What is it about? Who is it for? And full disclosure, because I have to disclose legally, I am an advisor to Algo Face, so I will disclose that.
So Algo Face, we make it easier for enterprise level companies to build and deploy face AI solutions. So we're that infrastructural layer at our core, and then we can also build on top of that core applied AI solutions. And I'm talking about things like virtual try-on in retail, anything from here to here. And then vital sign detection, being able to take your blood pressure, heart rate, oxygen level, things like that from a phone or a tablet, any device with a camera on it. Being able to enable hyper-realistic digital avatars. We make the cheekbones, the lips and the eyes, the where the humanity is shown, the human emotion comes through. We're able to enable that hyper realism in a digital avatar. And we work with the likes of Samsung and companies like Beauty Industry Group, which is the largest hair extension manufacturer and seller in North America, actually. But we have a host of enterprise level and upper mid-market companies that we support across a horizontal slate of opportunities.
Oh, and we'll have to do another episode and talk about AI and computer vision, because there's a lot for us to unpack. And so
Sure.
I would just encourage everyone. Andrew and I are gonna give you some homework. Just think of us as your big brother, big sister coming alongside you. And especially for those of you, and you know who you are, because we're all at the tech events, my friends who come up and say, I listen to the show, Susan, and I'm thinking about starting my business. You know who you are. So perhaps today's episode really is focused on, why don't you just open a few bottles of wine and get some friends together, figure out, what's important to them, and let things flow to you, as opposed to trying to make it so hard. Like when I think about Andrew's in a state of flow because he's not a hardaholic. He's not trying to make things so rigid. He's allowing things, which doesn't make him, less of a CEO. In fact, it makes him a much more effective CEO. So, Andrew, I want to thank you so much for being here. We're going to have to do a second episode. AI is a big episode. We can't no.
Truly. Oh my God, AI is endless. You have to compartmentalize. We can boil down to computer vision or language models, or we'll have to break it up.
Yeah, we 100% will. Well, Andrew, thank you so much for being here, and thank you for sharing your wisdom. Thank you for sharing part of your journey. We have a lot more to unpack, and thank you for sharing your advice. This is raw and real entrepreneurship. And we know a lot of people out there are introverted, they're nervous, they might, whatever the case is, just get people together. Just get them together and allow that magic to happen. So, Andrew, thanks again for being on the show.
Thank you. Much love. I appreciate you, Susan.
I love you too, brother. All right, everyone. Well, that is a wrap for this show. I will see you in the next episode.
All right, so getting people together with wine, I know it's revolutionary. It's not, it's something we can all do. And it's something I've started doing and hosting the first one, Cocktails and Conversations, here in Scottsdale. And I plan on hosting another one in Silicon Valley. So if you are in the Bay Area and you're interested in women's health, whether you're a VC, an entrepreneur, please reach out to me. Just go to susansly.com and message me, and I would love to invite you to my Silicon Valley event. We're going to do another Cocktails and Conversations, one in Orlando and also one in Atlanta. Lots of things going on. So in this week's Startup Diary, as I am recording this, I am so stinking tired. I have been on the road for a week. I left for Orlando. My flight was delayed. I was with two of my daughters, my youngest daughter, my oldest daughter, and we got into Orlando at 4 a.m. And my oldest daughter, Avery, who you've heard on the show, we had 2.5 hours of sleep and we wanted to go to Epcot. And she's like, I'm all in for Epcot. I will do whatever I need to do. And it just goes to show you, we can always find energy for something we're excited about. So on 2.5 hours of sleep, we went to Epcot and we were there with Mia, the co-founder of TPT, and we did the whole park. And my youngest daughter, she was crashing, and it was a great day. And then we were supposed to have a dinner that night. And I was honestly wishing, I was like, oh my gosh, somehow, some way, I, you know, I want to do business, but I'm also tired. And so as like, I really am a believer in prayer and intentionality. And one of the people we were supposed to have dinner with, her flight was canceled. Someone else's flight was delayed. Ended up, no one could do dinner. And I was kind of like, yay. So I ended up in the room ordering DoorDash with my daughters, and it was the best night. And the next day, I had meetings with the committee that I can't disclose currently what we're planning, but it's something massive for 2025 in the healthcare and tech space. And so I had all-day meetings. And the fun thing was, two people I really want to connect, and I would say one of my superpowers is connecting people. And they ended up meeting each other and finding out they live 30 minutes apart from one another. They have so much in common. And it was just amazing. So how fun it was to just watch that relationship unfold, to introduce them and step back. So I had a business breakfast and meetings. And then we went to our friend Meredith Lowe's place for a photo shoot. And then we had a business dinner. Then I get back to the room. I'm like, oh my goodness, it is like, I am so ready for bed. But the girls were like, Mama, do you want to watch an episode of The Last Airbender? I'm like, oh, okay. All right, we'll do it. So we did that, got up the next morning. Every day when I'm traveling, I always make sure I get up and work out. So I got up, did a quick workout, and I had to suit up. My first meeting in the morning was 8:30 in the morning with Hewlett Packard and friends that I have there. And then I had another HPE meeting, Hewlett Packard Enterprise. That's what HPE stands for. And a third one. And then I had some time to walk the show floor at HIMSS, which is a massive healthcare conference, meet some amazing folks. And then it was time for another meeting, a cocktail party. And I got to go to Sally Frank's book signing. Sally Frank is the global head of healthcare startups for Microsoft, and TPT, my new company, is in that ecosystem. So it was great. And Wednesday I flew home, and I got home, and there was all kinds of chaos ensuing with our cats, if you can believe this or not. And so I landed, I went to PetSmart, thank you, PetSmart, and got some calming stuff for the cats, and got my laundry done, got reorganized. And then the next morning at 7:45, I got up and I brought my youngest daughter with me and flew to Silicon Valley, because I was going to Intel to hang out with a friend of mine, Carolyn Henry, who is one of the CMOs over at Intel, and then go from there to the Silicon Valley Education Foundation, where I was keynoting. And candidly, I was a little bit nervous. I was like, okay, I'm talking about AI in Silicon Valley. But the thing is, I have to remind myself that I have been the CEO of an AI company that has deployed at scale, which is rare. I'm not a quote unquote AI influencer. I actually talk about AI, deploy AI, and it was incredible. So I keynoted and I met so many amazing people. I met some amazing young people who were benefiting. They were studying cybersecurity and benefiting from the Silicon Valley Education Foundation. I met incredible teachers. Teaching is the most noble profession on the planet. God bless you. And then I got to be on a panel with Sandra Rivera, Carolyn Henry, Dr. Monica Soni, and we were talking about the future of women in AI and the disparities in terms of women in AI and data sets. And it was absolutely incredible. And my heart was just so full. So it's been an incredible week. And from a startup perspective, we are planning our first cocktails and conversations, which is coming up. It will have already happened by the time you hear the show. We are focused on our angel round. So we're talking to investors, and some investors, I'll be very candid, are like, not the right fit. So probably a no, and which is a bit different than other startups that are out there. And then we are getting our product ready. We are getting, the architecture has been vetted, signed off on. We're building out our product and getting that ready for going to the market, and building out our plans for next year already and the year after that. And so There's a lot going on. And as I record this diary, this weekly diary, it's Friday night and I've just made dinner for my kids. I have poured a glass of wine, and as much as I love you all, I'm going to go hang with the kids, drink my wine, have my dinner, and decompress after a full week, recharge, have a massage, and top up my batteries and get ready for a week ahead. Anyway, I love you all so much, and thank you for listening to this diary. Please share the show. Please give us a 5-star review. I read all your ratings, all of your reviews, so please do that. And get ready for next week's diary. All right, take care, God bless, and I will see you in the next episode.